Hello, I'm Dr. Marianne Teitelbaum, and today we're going to discuss a few basic things about detoxification. First, there are 4 things we need to do in order to stay healthy and live to a ripe old age. First, we have to identify imbalances in the early stages and fix them so that they don't progress into a full-blown disease. Second thing, eat healthy, freshly made food cooked at home with wholesome ingredients, always avoiding leftovers, frozen, canned, pre-packaged, and all the fast foods. Third, follow a good daily routine, which means go to bed no later than 10 p.m. Wake up early as soon as the sun's coming up or before. Get some sunshine on your skin for at least 20 to 30 minutes a day, depending on your skin type, and exercise. And finally, it's important to learn correct detox, to take the load off the liver and the kidneys, which are the main detoxifying organs. Now, today we're just going to focus on detoxification. I'd like to at least give you the theory behind it so that when you begin your detox programs, you have a basic understanding of what it is you're trying to do and why you need to do it carefully and systematically. Mainstream medical doctors aren't focused on detox at all because it's not something they learned how to do in medical school. Now, combine that with the fact that America is only about 250 years old, and we've never had a chance to really fully develop a system of holistic medicine or to study and delve into proper protocols for cleansing. In fact, we don't even know most of the herbs available to us and how to use them. Ayurveda, however, is a 5,000-year-old tradition of holistic medicine from India, which has been instructing their patients in cleanses for thousands of years. So it's a good idea to see what those ancient doctors had to say about it. One thing they did mention in their textbooks, though, was that they couldn't foresee what would happen in the future. So they would leave it up to the newer doctors of Ayurveda to rewrite the chapters so that it could mold itself to the changing times, always following the basic guidelines contained within the scope of Ayurveda, though. And that's exactly what my teacher and mentor, Vajrayamakant Mishra, did. He came from an extremely long family lineage of Ayurvedic doctors, dating back 5,000 years. I was very fortunate because I was one of the first doctors he trained when he came to America in the late 1990s. And once he started taking the pulses of my patients, he quickly realized that we needed to change up the ancient Ayurvedic cleanses to fit what's happening in this modern era. For example, nowadays we have very dangerous toxins that we're all harboring deep within our cells, which our ancestors were never exposed to. Toxins like pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, which are all the synthetic vitamins, environmental toxins, air pollution, pesticides. These toxins are acidic by nature, and that's why the whole earth right now is very hot and experiencing global warming on a broader scale, because it too is suffering the consequences of environmental and industrial pollutants. Now, Vajra Mishra felt that the ancient Ayurvedic cleanse, known as Panchakarma, was actually a little too potent for dealing with these new types of toxins. And the reason is this. Once we're exposed to toxins, whether they come through us through the skin, or we swallow them, or we breathe them in, they can travel into the deeper tissues like the bone marrow, the brain, the fat cells, all over the body. And when we pull them out, they have to travel through physical channels as they exit through the bowel movement, urine, and the sweat. So these very hot toxins are so piercing and dangerous that we must carefully control how much we're pulling out at a time. And we have to prepare the physical channels for handling these hot toxins. Otherwise, they could rupture. And when they do that, you're in big trouble because now the toxins can roam all over the body and there's nothing you can do now that they've escaped. This is why some people actually develop autoimmune diseases like fibromyalgia after their Panchakarma treatments. Now, I mention this because what I intend to do in this video is to give you the information and theory behind the art of detoxification, but not the actual cleanses that we administer to our patients. And I do this because each person is unique and is harboring various amounts of different types of toxins which have traveled to different parts of the body, depending on that person's genetic makeup. So, for example, One patient might have been on a dangerous acne medicine for the last 6 months, which is famous for traveling deep into the bone marrow. So this type of toxin needs a different protocol for pulling it out than someone else who works, say, in a lab with chemicals and has already developed an autoimmune disease from the accumulation of those chemicals, which are now disrupting their immune system. Or maybe a farmer who sprays his fields with pesticides and he's now suffering from Parkinson's disease because these dangerous chemicals have made their way into the part of the brain known as the substantia nigra, where the dopamine is made. Also, some people can handle detox better than others, so it's best to walk the patient through the whole cleansing process very carefully and slowly, always cutting back on the detox if they get rashes, digestive upset, or any other symptoms along the way. Vajra Mishra taught me that it's better to pull the toxins out slowly over a longer period of time rather than pulling them out quickly and risking lots of side effects, like rupturing the channels. So let's begin our discussion about detox by first stating that it's important to fix your digestion before starting up any cleansing program, because if your digestion isn't working correctly, then you'll just keep making toxins from the food you eat and you won't get very far. You'll be cleansing, which removes the toxins, then making more toxins as you eat, then cleansing and making more toxins from the improper combustion of the food. So in effect, you'll just be spinning your wheels and not getting very far. It's also important to prepare yourself for the cleanses by making sure the liver is cool and the channels are lubricated so they can handle these very hot modern toxins as they come out of the body. That's why it's best to work with your Ayurvedic practitioner, because they'll let you know how these various issues are doing before you start your cleansing programs. So now, having said all that, let's take a look at what exactly it is we're cleansing. I remember when I first sat with Vajra Mishra and he started teaching me about cleansing, I thought that maybe there were some patients who had been exposed to chemicals, or maybe they had a bad diet, who were in need of cleansing, but everyone else was okay. But the truth is we all need to be cleansing. Let's take a deeper look at why this is so. Now, there are 4 types of toxins. They're known as Ama, Amavisha, Garvisha, and the electromagnetic toxins. Ama means partially digested food that's stuck in the intestinal tract, stuck in that channel, we could call it. Normally, when you swallow the food, it has to be broken down into smaller and smaller pieces by the digestive system so that those particles can then be absorbed out of the intestines and into the bloodstream. Once that happens, we feel very light, blissful, buoyant after eating because the nutrients are taken up to the cellular system. But if either something is wrong with our digestion and/or the food is too heavy and it only partially breaks down, it forms Ama, which clogs the channel. A good example of Ama clogging a channel is a baby who is formula fed who keeps getting ear infections. This is because the formulas are too heavy compared to breast milk, which is very light and easily digested. So these heavy formulas end up sitting in the gut, forming Ama, and end up clogging the various channels around the body. But in the process, the little ear canals, those little channels, clog with Ama, and then they start to breed infection, which is why formula-fed babies get many more ear infections than breastfed babies. The second type of toxin is called Amavisha. The word Visha means poison, so this is Ama, which has rotted and fermented, forming a highly acidic toxin, which can now pave the way for autoimmune diseases and cancer. See, regular Ama is cold and it just clogs the channel, which is bad enough because it can breed infection. But Amavisha is hot and reactive by nature, which is why it can blossom into an autoimmune disease or cancer if allowed to sit in the physiology. People who have these types of diseases have inflammation and the insides of their cells are acidic, and this is where it all begins, with the improper digestion of the food, and the food turning into Ama and then Amavisha. Now, the third type of toxin is known as Garvisha. These are toxins from outside the body, like air pollution, pesticides, industrial toxins, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. And this type of toxin is also highly reactive and hot, also causing cancer and autoimmune diseases if allowed to accumulate within our bodies. Now, the fourth and final type of toxin is electromagnetic radiation, which comes from cell phones, computers, smart meters, cell phone towers, and X-rays, for example. This is actually the most dangerous of the four toxins because this toxin is found in the space element and can mingle in with prana, which is the life energy coming from nature, which is also found in the space element. Prana is the vibration from the sun and the moon, which comes in at the top of the head, through the orifices in the face, the nostrils, ears, and circulates through the body's vibrational channels. See, up until now we've been talking about the physical channels, but the vibrational channels carry the flow of prana. And then the prana gets supplied to all the organs, glands, and the entire cellular system. Since it is the vibration of prana which gives rise to the physical structure of the body, it's really important that the prana coming into our body is pure. But when the prana mixes in with electromagnetic radiation, it can create confusion in the cellular system, which is why cancer can grow from too much exposure to electromagnetic radiation. Don't forget, our cells are creating every second of every day, and they must remain highly intelligent in their functions. Once they get confused, they can make mistakes, which is what cancer is, where the cells can't remember what they're supposed to do, and they just keep haphazardly growing wildly out of control. So now that you have a feel for the four types of toxins, it's good to understand that each of them needs to be removed in a specific way. Since ama is cold and clogging, you have to burn it out with hot herbs and spices, hot teas. But Amavisha and Garvisha, however, are already hot and acidic, so there's an art to removing them. And the trick is to keep the liver cool during the detox process, while at the same time keeping the channels lubricated and constantly monitoring the patients as they go through their cleanses. For example, if too much Amavisha comes out through the pores in the skin, you might develop a rash because this very hot toxin exits through the skin on its way out, and it burns. So during the cleanses, cooling teas are given to protect the organs of elimination, direct the toxins away from the skin and into the urine. And the areas of the body that eliminate toxins are the skin, the liver, the bowel, and the kidneys. This is how toxins come out of the body, through the bowel movement, urine, and the sweat. Now the problem is, in ancient times, the main toxin was ama, which needed to be removed and addressed. This is why there's lots of teas and formulas designed to burn ama out of the channels. This is also why many of the cleanses were based on hot peppers, like the Master Cleanse, which we use here in America. It's made up of cayenne pepper and maple syrup. Even the Ayurvedic cleanses use ginger, different types of pepper, to cleanse. This type of cleansing worked in the past centuries, but doesn't work so well now with these modern types of hot toxins. Burning out hot toxins with hot, spicy teas and hot herbs with ginger and pepper will throw you into a detox crisis, giving you digestive upset, rashes, and many other symptoms. So now you can see why I can't give specific protocols here. First, because you have to know exactly which of the four types of toxins you're holding on to and where they went. Could they be in the fat cells, in the liver, the brain, the bone marrow? And depending on where they went, we would direct the cleanse to those areas specifically, while giving an overall cleanse to the whole body. But at least now you know some theory behind the cleansing process, and it's probably not a good idea to just jump into a cleanse without knowing more details about the types of toxins you want to remove and where they need to be removed from. This is why we physicians have to study this topic for many years and be careful when developing our patients' cleanses. Having said that, though, once you learn how to cleanse properly, and it's not as hard as you think, you'll be doing a great service to your body, taking the load off the liver, which is the main filter of toxins, and which has a very heavy load to bear in this modern age with all the toxins it has to deal with. And always remember, just about any disease you can think of had its origins in a toxic liver. It's just that the modern doctors don't trace the diseases back to where they began. They pretty much diagnose and name the disease and then give pharmaceuticals, which, by the way, are toxic to the liver, to suppress the symptoms of that disease. Now you can see why learning correct Ayurvedic detox is so important. It's the best thing you can do to prevent cancer and other serious diseases. In fact, many people ask me if there is a cure for cancer, and I say yes. But the cure is in preventing it. And it starts with a good diet, an early bedtime, being out in the sun, exercising, and cleansing impurities from the body so they don't build up and cause the cancer in the first place. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Good luck with your cleanses. Thank you.